What can you do to obtain inner healing? Speak to the person who has done you wrong. Try to get to the actual reason for his bad behavior. You might find that you yourself drove the person to that, and that it was therefore difficult for it to have been prevented. Other times, you might realize that what happened was merely a great misunderstanding. It is therefore always important to put negative incidents into context. This prevents a person from jumping to the wrong conclusion in a given situation. There are many bad things which people quickly want to react to, whereas these were just isolated incidents, or of little significance. Children becoming wrathful against their fathers because of such misconceptions, is a common example in this regard. Ephesians 6 verse 4. Talking to your father and giving him the opportunity to explain certain undesirable actions, will thus help you to see things differently. Much of your hurt may also stem from your childhood years, because at that stage you were not mature enough to discern and understand things correctly. The Lord, however, knows everything, the struggles, that is happening inside you, even though you yourself might not be able to make sense of it. According to Psalm 44 verse 21, God knows the secrets of a person's heart. Ask God to help you discover your identity. You are indeed a unique individual, and God made you with a specific goal in mind. You are therefore able to make a unique contribution to the world you live in, even though you may have exactly the same name and surname as someone else, and even if that other person was born on exactly the same day in history as you. God only created one gem or masterpiece called you. Just as it usually takes time for earthly gems to be discovered, it may also take more time for you to be discovered, or for that which is hidden and new to be uncovered. You may have a hidden talent, such as the ability to create things, or to develop people. Many people want to make a difference, but they do not want to be different. It is, however, the person that is different who can really make a difference. It is often the acute awareness of his differences that prompts him to do different things, or do things differently. While many Christians may call themselves men of God, you might even be one of those who could truly describe themselves as God's man. In God's army, carnal weapons do not matter. Just like the judges such as Samson, you might actually be God's weapon. You are loaded with Bible power, prayer power, Christian testimony power, and Holy Ghost power. While you are also looking with others for a particular solution or trying to be part of the solution, you might actually be the solution, without even having the assistance of someone else. God might really have his hand on you in this regard. Are you the answer or blessing that your province or community has been looking for or desired? Are you the leader or manager your region or company needed all along? Are you perhaps the next Moses, Gideon, or Deborah of your city or state? Ask God therefore, to help you answer these very important questions. Who am I? And what am I? Knowing who you are and what you are, is critical to understanding yourself, and understanding yourself is critical to understanding others. This understanding will also help you identify the reasons why you are hurting on the inside. Being aware of these things will also enable you to use specific interventions to address them, rather than general approaches. Writing these things down under various categories is particularly helpful, such as, I am, I was, I have, I will not, I want, I do not want, I did not, I need, I do not need, I can, I cannot, I could not. You can also write down single-word descriptions of yourself, starting with different letters of the alphabet. For example, Jason Sachs is ambitious. Because you wrote these things down, you do not have to try and recall them frequently. You will then have a very good picture of yourself, and of what needs to change. Your outlook cannot, however, be determined by your in-look. It is because of what Jesus is, that you can really be what God wants you to be. Speak to someone who can give you definite advice. If you want healing and relief, you cannot merely remain passive. You also need to do something from your side. It is ideal to talk to someone who had the same experience as you, since he will be able to identify with your current situation. If such a person is not available, you may still talk clearly and honestly about your problem to someone like your pastor, or an elder in your church assembly or community. God can use them as instruments to tell you exactly what things you need to do, which are in line with the teachings of His Word. That which lies deep, beneath the surface, must be brought out, onto the surface, for healing to take place. People try various things to make themselves feel happy, or to console themselves. All the feel-good music in the world, and all the comfort food in the best kitchen cannot, however, make you well. The source or origin of your unhappiness and sadness, therefore, has to be dealt with. The person you go to for guidance will help you interpret things or events in your life correctly, so that you may subsequently engage on the right course of action. He may be able to help you work through your own faults that led to you being hurt, and also help you to evaluate and ask critical questions about your life, such as, what kind of person am I? Are people glad to hear that I will be visiting them, or do they become downcast and anxious? How do others feel after I have spoken to them? What are the messages my life communicates to other people? The same question that Jesus asked the sick man at the pool of Bethesda, therefore also needs to be put to you. Do you want to be healed, made whole? John 5 verse 6. God's healing is indeed about wholeness. If you are one of the many people who feel like a failure, talking to someone else about this constant negative emotion is critical for you to gain the right perspective about your life. He will, for example, remind you of a few critical facts, lest your feelings get the better of you. This includes the fact that just because you feel like a failure, does not mean you are a failure. This is in spite of the fact that you may have had more things in your life that failed, compared to the lives of others. Your inability to do a common or certain thing may be masked by your ability to do something uncommon or unique. It can therefore make your inability to do a common thing seem irrelevant. Remember that the failures of many people are less, simply because their attempts at success, or endeavors, were fewer. Repeated failures in one area of your life do not have to equate to failure in another area as well. Even if these failures are in a prominent area, you can still have success in another area. Your repeated failed job applications at some companies do not therefore mean that you are not good enough. Another company may, at a later stage, give you the very same position. It is then that you will realize that it was your failed job applications that made you feel like a failure. You are, however, not really a failure, but a success. What happens in the end is not the real measure of success, that is, whether you reached your target or not. Taking a math equation, for example, if the last 2 out of 20 steps were incorrect, does it mean that a student was unsuccessful? No, he was only unsuccessful in the execution of 10% of what he did, and successful in the remaining 90% of what he did, which is an overwhelming majority. speak to someone you can trust. Truth is the basis of trust. Without it, there can be no genuine trust. You can usually confide in your mother, father, or close friend, since they are able to listen to the truth of what you are saying, without judging you. The sinful woman named Mary, who anointed the feet of Jesus, wept a lot because she was probably also overwhelmed by his unconditional love, non-judgmental attitude. Luke 7 verses 38 and 39. This kind of disposition makes it easier to share exactly what you feel on the inside. The key reason why you have to speak to someone trustworthy is not only because that person will not tell others what you have shared with them, if you ask them not to do so. Someone you can trust is someone who understands you. That understanding is, however, determined by how they see, perceive, you, and their perception comes from their knowledge of you. The more people know a certain person, the better they will understand that person, and the better they understand the person, the easier it will be to accept or love that person. People are usually known by the aspect that most characterizes their life. A person is thus described as being wicked, because he mostly does wicked things. Whatever the thing is about you, it is not the only thing that is characteristic of you, but it stands out because it is more common, or easily noticeable in your life. Other people's misconceptions about you, and their bad treatment of you, are thus not necessarily because they do not like you. It is often due to them not understanding you, which is rooted in their lack of sufficient and accurate knowledge of who and what you are. If you truly know who someone is, then you will even understand what he is capable of. For the very same reason, Jesus was also disregarded and not taken seriously, even by his own people. If the people of Nazareth really knew more about Jesus, they would not have disregarded him. If Jesus was a self-proclaimed prophet who simply declared himself to be the Son of God and the Messiah from a particular day on, the negative response of his fellow Nazarenes would have been understandable, or justified. He, however, was declared to be the powerful Son of God, Romans 1 verse 4, and both Mary and Joseph were informed of his messiahship before he was born, Matthew 1 verses 20 and 22. Luke 1 verses 32 and 33, his works confirmed his words and claims. Because he was from their town, the Nazarenes knew a lot, but too little. Knowing his family and the house in which he lived, was unfortunately not enough. Despite witnessing Jesus' great wisdom and mighty works, the Nazarenes' limited knowledge could not help them understand and believe his real identity and divinity. Matthew 13 verses 55 to 58. They heard his words, and beheld his works. If the source of people's knowledge of you is wrong, then the information they have about you would also be wrong and they will see you in the wrong light. God, however, sees you in the correct light, because he fully understands you and he fully understands you. Because his knowledge of you is complete and accurate, he not only knows who you are, but also what you can and will become in the future. In Psalm 139 verses 1 and 2, the psalmist could therefore boldly declare, O Lord, thou hast searched me, and known me. Thou knowest my down-sitting and mine uprising. Thou understandest my thought afar off. It is, for example, interesting to see how a school teacher starts treating a student with more empathy, since hearing that the student's father passed away just a few months ago. This improved handling is due to his improved understanding, which resulted from the additional knowledge he gained about the student.